Right now you're live. Okay. Good evening, everybody. We hope you're keeping well today, as anticipated today. We are going live with Cheslyn Gie. Is it? Yeah. Yeah. And we have we have a good show, and yeah, we need to talk about hockey. And I don't want to introduce my friend for a very long time, but I am very sure that he's well able to introduce himself even as we progress with today's show. So, yes, sir, kindly introduce yourself.
Good evening, Cheslyn Gie, all the way from Port Elizabeth, South Africa, and been friends with Moses for a very long time, and thankful and grateful to be on the Hockey Farm Sports live Facebook show.
Yeah. Yes, Chess. It's amazing to finally get you. Yeah, you're a busy guy, you know. And today I think it's a special day because we've been talking about coaching challenges we go through. But basically, it would be very fun. I mean, it would be great for you to just tell us about your journey to hockey, your family, your family involvement in hockey. Yeah, and then free pick it from there. Yeah.
Okay, so my dad was a hockey player, and we grew up in and around the hockey field. So hockey was played on a Sunday traditionally in Port Elizabeth. So as young as I think I was 8 years old when I started playing hockey, and I played in the Bluebells D team. Back then there was 4 junior teams. That's how hockey was thriving in our city.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad went on to play senior provincial hockey. He represented SA under the SACOS banner. And he also coached
Mm-hmm.
me in the EP junior team. He was, in fact, one of my greatest critics. He always told me I should give up the sport, but I always wanted to prove him wrong. And he
Mm-hmm.
coached both EP juniors and EP seniors. Yeah, and he was part of the EP team that won the IPT for 10 consecutive years in a row. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was part of a great EP legacy, and I've always tried to follow in his footsteps. In fact, my brother as well, Naylan, coaches the Premier League side here in our
Okay.
city as well in Port Elizabeth. And
Yeah.
when we coach against each other, it's normally quite feisty. It's always a good family rivalry that goes on. It's been
Yeah.
like that for forever. He's 2 years younger than me, so and
Yeah.
so it's been really good. And
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, your family is totally involved with hockey. So I think we say it in hockey language. Your family has been beaten by the hockey bug. Eh?
nah, definitely. My kids
Yeah.
recently started playing as well.
Okay.
My son, 9 years old, he's playing at the
Yeah.
primary school, and my daughter's just started high school, and
Yeah.
she plays in the second team there, under 14,
Okay.
second team at school. So yeah, no, the hockey bug is definitely bitten in the family.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, one of my friend was making fun when he said that I'm introducing you as a humble guy, and yeah, I've known you to be very humble. And basically, what attributes to you being so humble? Because before you get deeper into your hockey journey and your accolades and the tournaments you played, you have a personality which is very calm and basically you're one of the most from all my South African friends. I say you're the only one who's very cool. And what attributes you to be that way as a person? I mean,
Moses, if you ask some of the players that I've coached, they will tell you very far from cool and calm.
okay,
Back in the day, I used to be a very feisty coach. In fact, I still am, but I'm not as vocal as I was back in the day.
hmm
I'll tell you the story. I was having a full go at my players one day, and my daughter used to accompany me to hockey matches. And she started pulling on my shirt and she said, Dad, I need to tell you something. And I said, not now, I'm busy, because I was busy shouting at the players at halftime. And she said, no, I need to tell you something now. And I leaned down and I listened to her and she says, how would you feel if that was my coach shouting at me like that? And then all the boys around said, yeah, you need to listen to her, coach. You shouldn't be shouting at us like that. So that day I realized, it's not always the best way of shouting at players when you're not happy with their performance. But the reason I do all of that is because I feel that some of them can be so much better at what they're doing or how they're playing. So I try to get the full potential out of each and every hockey player that I've coached in my recent past.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, and yeah, I think we have known you for some time. I mean, how many years? It's long, eh? I was trying to count the years.
There's rather not count. We're going to give our age away, Moses.
Okay, yeah. But today, I'm really excited because I was talking to my friends and I was like, hey, you're one of the most experienced coaches around, and this is just the true fact. Maybe people don't know it, or people don't appreciate the experience you've had, and I kindly just I think it would be very great for you to tell us about when you started coaching, as in the national team, and also you coach peer IPT teams. I know you have coached also the professional league. So basically, in terms of years, because when you start talking about that, I'm seeing myself as a dwarf. I'm a very small boy when you talk to that. But basically, I think it will be very important so that because in Africa we say, somebody said, they have a Swahili saying that says, what an old man sees sitting down, the young people have to climb on top of a tree to see. So basically, is your experience, it will just be able to give us a knowledge of how much you have done and how far you've gone. So kindly, if you're able to remember.
It's it goes way back. I'm not too sure about what the year was, but Mr. Gary Dolly, one of the he's with SAR as the development officer. Way back when, he spotted most probably that my hockey ability as a player is not going to take me beyond playing for the EPB side settlers back then. And he wanted me to coach and do some development coaching at one of his hubs. And I started doing that in the shorter area here in Port Elizabeth. And from there, it became to a weekly coaching session. But eventually, I started coaching in 2001 when I made my move to PE Technikon, now Nelson Mandela University. That was before the merger took place. And I coached the Premier League side there. From 2001 onwards. And then we merged in 2005. I started coaching the university second team. Jody Paul, who's now at Bath University, was coaching the first team. And when he got his opportunity at Bath, I got my opportunity to move up and start coaching the first team. Yes. I've coached at all levels. In fact, my journey with SA Hockey started back in 2001 as well, when I went with the SA Under 16B side to Zimbabwe for the Year of the Youth Festival. I was the Under 16B manager back then, and I worked with a guy called Russell Milne. In fact, the two of us studied at the old PE Technikon together, and we graduated together. So we got along quite well. I've been a selector at national junior level, under 21, and under 18, as well as senior level. In the recent past, I was the convener of selectors just for one IPT, as the convener had some family emergencies and with his family, and he couldn't attend. But I've been to quite a few Africa Cups. I've been with the Africa Junior Cup in Egypt, where we won and qualified for the Junior World Cup, which was in Singapore and Malaysia. I think that was in 2009. And then I've also been with the last two Africa Cups, one in Egypt, in Ismailia, where we were coaching against each other.
Yeah, I remember. Well, we took a picture, and our head coaches could not understand
our
what
coaches
we were
weren't
saying
happy. They
together.
said we need to move away from each other because I'm not sure if they thought we would try and steal each other's tactics. But yeah, we were forced to move away from each other, which is understandable, I guess. And then the last Africa Cup was in South Africa in 2019, where we won the tournament and also qualified for the Olympics. And I've also been to the Commonwealth Games in 2018 in Australia. So yeah, but my journey with the national men's team started back in 2009. I think there was a test series in Potchefstroom, and I was called up as one of the assistant video analysts as Wayne Hendricks. I'm sure you know Wayne Hendricks. He's also been to multiple Africa Cups.
I know.
Wayne was the video guy for a long time, and he had to go home as well, and I had to fill in. So thank you to Wayne Hendricks as well for having to vacate his position. And then I was thrown into the firing line. So that's when I made my debut for the senior team. And I've been with the senior team for several years now. And in that time, I've worked with 3 different head coaches as well. Fabian Gregory, Super Fabian, as we all know him, Mr. Adidas. In the spirit. I see you also wearing Adidas these days.
I learned from the big boy. I learned from the big boy.
Yeah, I worked with Mark Hopkins and recently with Gareth Ewing, and it's all been good. I've learned from all of the coaches that I've spent time with, and then it's been great to be involved in international hockey.
No, it's talking about fire. The other day I was making fun that they have produced an Adidas car, and so he'll be the first person to drive.
I agree with that.
To drive Adidas car. Anyway, I think Chess, you've really gone through the journey, and if we are supposed to say to package everything you have learned, it's impossible. But basically, what has been your biggest growth in terms of knowledge as you go from different tournament and different environment? What has been your key learning points if you're supposed to summarize all those years at once?
Well, Moses, I think the most important thing is sharing is the most important thing within hockey. And at all the international tournaments, whether it be us playing at an Africa Cup or us going to any other international team, hockey coaches are willing to share the information. And that's been the good thing. And I think talking to people is very important. Asking questions is important. I think we need to understand that it's important to share and ask. I've never come across a coach that didn't want to share any tactical information, not prior to a game. Always after a game, you'll inform you, okay, this is what we did and this is how we tried to play against you. So, and I've also learned to think on my feet really quickly. I remember when I was coaching, we played a test series, summer series versus Holland, England, and Belgium. And we were playing a test match. And I told Faya to change a few tactics, or I suggested. We did that. And it lasted for about 2 minutes before the opposition found out how to counter that. And then Faya told me, not in a nice tone, he says, Cheers, they found out what our tactical change was, what we're going to do next. And I told him, let me think about it. And he says, there's no time to think now. This is international hockey. We need to get it resolved as soon as possible. So I've learned that you always need to have a plan B, C, D, and a few more after that. So I've always tried to prepare whenever I coach any team to have a few plans up my sleeve or just in the back pocket, just in case we need to make some tactical changes.
And now to the elephant in the room, you know. What has been your challenges all through the journey? And I think as coaches we've learned to learn, adapt, and move. You know,
Yeah.
and so, but there's some key challenges that you as not only as a coach but also as a person you had to endure or go through in your hockey coaching career.
Moses, yeah, I think color is a big thing, unfortunately, still in South Africa. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been coaching for many years, and still you find subtle incidences that continues to happen. And I think that's the scary thing about in South Africa, particular, that we can
Mm-hmm.
improve on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if you've coached for several years, you must have at least a little bit of hockey knowledge, and it
Yeah.
seems if people still doubt you. And something I've
Mm-hmm.
learned over the years is never to doubt myself. Um,
Mm.
you know, I've been around for a while, so
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing, or I need to tell myself I know what I'm doing, and I need to be as confident
Mm-hmm.
as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that people understand that I'm not trying to be cocky or blow my own whistle, but confidence plays a big role when it comes to coaching. If you don't believe in yourself, I think the players will find out immediately that
Mm.
you are doubting yourself. So, uh, being positive and backing yourself at all times is very important. I've also learned that some players will test you. So you had Julian Ikes on last week. Unfortunately, I missed
Yeah.
the interview because I wanted to ask him a few questions. My first
Yeah.
introduction to Julian Ikes was back in South Africa. Way back, we had a tournament called. We have the Premier Hockey League now, but back
Yeah.
then we had a National Hockey League that started out, and
Mm-hmm.
I was coaching the Eastern Cape team.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, Fabian Gregory was coaching the ladies Eastern Cape
Mm-hmm.
team as well at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was such a rushed event, we never got to spend too much time with the players. So in my first
Mm.
team talk, I explained to the players like this will be our game plan. This is the type of way we want to play. This will be our press, etc., etc. And every time I mentioned something, this guy would put up his hand. That guy was Julian Ikes. So, coachy, when you say this, what do you mean? So then I had to explain, and it happened the entire meeting. After the meeting, I called him once and I said, listen here, bud,
Yeah.
what's going on? Why
Yeah.
are you asking me all these questions? He says, no, you wanted to find out if I'm here because I'm a proper coach or if I'm there just because of window dressing,
Mm.
and since then we've always been friends because
Yeah.
he knew then that, it wasn't because of window dressing. And I think that's important. People need to understand, you know,
Mm.
I want to be recognized as a coach and not just somebody that's, coaching at a certain level because of any other reasons. But
Yeah.
yeah, myself and Julian has had a very good working relationship. Since then, I've
Yeah.
coached him at 4 PHL tournaments, and
Yeah.
nothing has changed. Whenever I explain something, he still puts up his hand. So I really appreciate that about him, which
Yeah.
is really good. It makes you grow as a coach, and also some of the players are afraid to ask questions around,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
being afraid to ask anything. It's good, so everybody learns at the same time.
Yeah. And that's very important because I think that's a challenge. That's a challenge we have as coaches. That I think from times the new way of coaching, and I think it started some few years ago, is that the players come first, and it's very important for them to understand the concepts and the principles you are trying to run through them. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes some coaches don't want to listen to. I mean, don't want questions, but I think that's the way they learn. Yeah, and what's your feeling about not only South African hockey but also African hockey right now?
Yeah. African hockey, I think there needs to be a lot more collaboration. Having attended, I think, the last 2 or 3 Africa Cups, I can
Yeah,
see that the other teams are improving consistently. I mean, Kenya has got several young players. I mean, we've discussed them at the last Africa Cup, which I was very
yeah,
impressed with. I
yeah,
think Ghana is very strong, physically very strong, and they play
yeah,
hard run hockey. And
yeah,
was so impressed by Kenya at the last Africa Cup because skillful players, players that's developed their skill set in various other formats besides just the skill factor. I mean, you guys now have two really good drag figures, and they're very young. I think they're not even 21 yet. So I think, but collaboration is needed within African hockey. And I think South Africa can play a big part in that, in growing the sport within Africa. I think we need to start within and grow the sport. I think more collaboration is needed, especially when it comes to coaching. I know from European side, there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work in Europe, from Europe in Africa. But I feel South African hockey can lend a hand there as well, a big hand as well.
Yeah, and I think this is the discussion we've been having with you over and over. I've had the privilege of also being with you in many in the club. I mean the Africa Cups from 2015 and in Egypt. And my knowledge right now is that, as you said, people are really catching up. But we're having a challenge with tournaments because luckily, or maybe the structure in South Africa, I know it can be better, but at least you have better opportunities to play outside. And international teams like coming there because, you know, they're running away from the winter and you have that privilege. But what's your take about us as Africans playing between ourselves? The new ranking system has changed. And it validates us playing within ourselves, and it also. So, what's your take about that? Because I remember after 2015, I was making fun of Fire. The time he nearly had a heart attack when we were beating South Africa, and then Hikes said last time that everybody hates him in Kenya because it was a nice game. But from that moment, we saw that the other African countries are really trying within their means to try and compete. But you yourself said that experience you get by playing teams from outside and playing against each other. What's your take about that? Because I remember, I think the former president of Saha at that time had said he was really looking forward for us to have 4 or 5 tiers series within the teams. We think we need to work on the way we work with other teams around us so that we build each other, because remember, positions in some tournaments, Commonwealth, Olympics, sometimes it's about the rankings and the tournaments we play. So what's your take about that? What do you think about that?
Well, I think the new FIH ranking system is gonna force teams within Africa to play other teams on the continent, and I think that's important. That's going to help all the teams grow as well, because I think South Africa has been at the forefront in Africa for a very long time now. I mean, I don't think the ladies has lost a tournament in quite a long time, and I think the men, you have to go very far back for when the men last lost Africa Cup. So I think if we play a lot more test matches against the likes of Egypt, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, unfortunately, withdrew in the last 2 Africa Cups. But I think if we play a lot more test matches within Africa, the hockey will improve within Africa. I think something that Kenya and Ghana and Egypt bring to hockey, I think there's a lot more physicality in the way that those teams approach the games. And something that we haven't done for as South Africa is send a team to the Africa Club Champs, to the Club Champs of Champs, which I know it only gets contested between Ghana, Kenya, and Egyptian teams in the recent past. I haven't attended in a very long time, but I remember playing. I myself was playing still then when there was the last Club Champs of Champs. So I think that needs to change from South Africa as well. We need to start sending a representative team to that tournament, and I think that will also, make players get to know each other on a better level, because the only time we see each other is at the Africa Cup, and especially the last one in Stellenbosch. It was surprising to see that nobody from the other African countries, I think Bar, not Windhoek, Bar Namibia was supporting South Africa. Everybody else, whenever anybody else, I mean, I've never seen Egypt have so much support in South Africa, especially in Stellenbosch, and it was all the other countries were just rooting for Egypt. And I can understand why, because we don't spend enough time getting to know each other as coaches, as players. And I think intercontinental tournament will help build those bridges, which is important, I think, because if we don't know each other, Moses, we don't talk to each other, we will never understand where that person comes from. And I mean, I've been lucky enough to have a very good relationship with you, but it all started with a simple conversation, you know, a hello, and then from there it grew, you know, and and I think that's important.
In fact, that's one question people ask. Like now, the next Africa Cup of Africa Club Championship is going to be in Malawi, and so I was bullying Alistair, like, hey, send your boys there. We come and moor them, you know. So I'm trying to provoke him. So because I feel I like what you said. Actually, what we've noticed, every country sends 2 teams, and the 2 teams have a huge number of bulk of players who play in the national team. So basically, it's a very good feeling. I like that. But I understand now we don't play clubs. You don't have a club champs in South Africa. You play provincial. So how can it be, for example, if a team wants to come and play in the club championships?
Well, they've started a new tournament down in Durban, the Elite Club Challenge, and I think that is important. In South Africa, a lot of the hockey is based at universities because of University Week, and hockey is also driven a lot by the school system in South Africa as well as universities, where the kids get the scholarships to schools, and they also get scholarships to universities. And that drives a large portion of the hockey within South Africa. And to a certain extent, our clubs started not dying, but they didn't grow efficiently. And I think the Elite Club Challenge is now building, and it's actually growing. I know Baloo Hockey played in that tournament last year. And I know that there's a few teams from Port Elizabeth that's also wanting to get invited to that, as well as club sides like Central in Cape Town, who's actually in 2019 they won the top league in Cape Town, which is important. And I think the Elite Club Challenge can assist with getting them, you know, whoever wins that tournament is then the champion of South Africa, and hopefully that team can then travel and play in the club champs in Africa.
Oh, that's awesome. And there's a discussion we had, and I think it's very interesting that university hockey in Kenya is pretty much big. And I know African system of education is basically a lot of hockey is played in schools and universities. And I think, as you mentioned, that's the next frontier. So what do you see? Because I think also the other way to develop our players would be to work with universities in that setup. And I know you work in one of the best universities there. And what Madiba, yeah. What's a view about it? What can we work out in terms of university, in terms of player exchanges, in terms of
I think Moses,
environment where you can work together universities?
I think most universities has like a exchange program with universities. So there needs to be more collaboration on that front as well, where we can get players from some of the other Africa universities and bring them to South Africa and vice versa. I mean, that's also a way for players to learn and understand what the game is about in different countries. Because what we find is that most of our players go to Europe if they want to improve themselves, especially those South African players go to Europe. I was actually listening to a chat the other day where some of the South African players actually went to play hockey in Egypt for as professionals, but that was many moons ago. And I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised to hear that. And I think it's important that there's more exchange between African universities. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the discussion where I think there needs to be more exchange and
Mm-hmm.
that will guarantee that on a cultural level, on a studying level, academic level, and also on a sport level, that there's meaningful exchange that takes place. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important. And it's something that I'm really keen, to work on because I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's a definite opportunity, um,
Yeah.
and our university, especially carrying the name of Nelson Mandela, I think it's
Yeah.
important that we work on that.
Mm-hmm. Now, issues financing, because I remember there's an article which was there in the paper about South African players how to fund themselves, and there's a lot of stories about that, and a lot of African countries are going through the same thing where the major priority of the government is not sports, it's health and all other stuff. So what do you think? Because I think corporates have to come in, but from your point of view, because before there was a lot of
Yeah.
sponsorship in South Africa, and what was going right that time, and what can we learn as the other sides of Africa? What can we tap from South Africa to ask for us to know on how we can get the corporates to come on board?
I think it's important to understand not everybody can attain sponsorship, right? Some people's got a gift where they can go out and they can sell a product. So I think
Mm,
number one, you need to get the right people involved to assist you to attain these sponsorships because some
mm,
people can sell you anything. They can sell you, so it's important to get those sort of people on board who's got the right contacts and can sell the product that we're trying to sell. So, for instance,
mm,
South Africa, we've got the varsity sports hockey competition.
mm,
It's also that comes from the varsity cup, rugby, etc., and they've had various other sports. And even in that format, uh, they've struggled to have uh, sponsors staying on board for a very long time. And I think
mm,
it shows you how tough it is, especially now with COVID as well. It's going to put a lot of companies under strain and under
mm,
pressure. And I think what uh, we should be looking at is not to have one big major sponsor that
mm,
covers all that you have looking to cover all your costs, but to have
mm,
several sponsors coming on board. And I
mm.
mean, I look at some of the rugby teams that plays,
Yeah.
and they've got stuff on their shorts. They've got several smaller sponsors on the T-shirt or whatever. And I think that's the way hockey needs to go as well, because every little
Mm,
bit helps you to get to the the big amount that you would need to
mm,
run hockey
mm,
successfully. And I mean,
mm.
even with that being said, if you want to play in the pro league currently, you need a massive amount of finance and
Yeah.
backing.
Yeah.
And I think that also separates some of our African teams
Mm,
and the top 8 elite teams, and everybody that goes from 9 downwards is struggling, to make it count when it comes to international tournaments. So
mm,
the top 8 is just they keep on moving further ahead of
mm,
the other international teams behind that. So I
mm.
think, yeah, looking for a lot more smaller sponsors to cover the bigger pot that is needed. I think that is important. So a change of strategy is needed to get people to come on board. That also being
Yeah.
said, Moses, people like
Yeah.
winners. If you're winning, people will come on
Yeah.
board. If you
Yeah.
start leading, it's amazing. I mean, losing, it's amazing how people start to fall away. So I think also having a winning culture is important, right? But
Mm-hmm.
also to have the proper team culture and ethos within the team so that people can see what you are trying to produce is not just the good
Mm.
people on the hockey field, but also off the field. Holistic development is important for sponsors as
Mm.
well these days.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now, what's your take on Africa hockey? Yeah, because I think I think they have tried to regroup themselves. Now they have other. I think you remember in Stellenbosch they had some
Yeah,
elections of
yeah,
athlete representative and stuff like that. And we have to represent the whole Africa. And from your point of view, maybe, remember you talked about us having a conversation about it. Is
Yeah,
what do you think can add value? How can they add value? Because we are so far apart. I'm here in Netherlands, and I see how it's so easy for a team to come from France to Netherlands because it's a small continent, and
yeah,
yeah, but Africa, we are so much spread around, and the countries which play hockey, basically they are spread around. You have Kenya in East Africa, South Africa
yeah,
down there, Ghana in the West Africa, Nigeria, Egypt.
yeah.
So, what will be your take about that? I mean, from your point of view, what do you think we can do to get them really on the ground?
Well, I think they took a step in the right direction by getting some of the ex-players involved,
Yeah,
on in that forum. And I think it's important that they listen to what these players have to say, because these
yeah,
representatives are listening to the current players and what
yeah,
their needs and requirements are. So I think that's a
yeah,
step in the right direction. That being said, I think
yeah,
there needs to be more more collaborative talks when it comes to what is needed within African hockey. Um,
hmm,
Also, hopefully, some of these either recently retired or still active players can have an opinion and have hopefully some voting rights, so they can influence what happens going forward. And I think
hmm,
that's also important. We need
hmm,
to grow as African hockey. The potential is
hmm,
there. Definitely, the potential is there. We can see that at every Africa Cup, how the teams are growing, and
hmm,
but we need to have faster growth. Our
hmm,
biggest problem is transportation. I was actually on a webinar the other day where Jody Paul was talking, and he
hmm,
said, they jump on the train and they travel, to France. They play international against France. A little bit further,
yeah,
they play against Holland. And when we grew up, for us playing international matches is such a big thing, and we put ourselves under
yeah,
pressure because we play so few and far between.
yeah,
But
yeah,
for the teams in Europe, it's another international. You know, we traveling over to go and play a few matches, and it's
hmm,
Musabi. That's why the European teams are so much more comfortable when playing international
hmm,
matches. We are always under
hmm,
pressure because we don't play enough hockey against each other. And
hmm,
well, we spoke about the FIH changing the ranking system, and intercontinental
yeah,
matches will count a lot more now. But even that's going to be
yeah,
difficult because the distances that needs to be traveled is so vast within Africa.
yeah, yeah,
So basically, what will be needed is like a mini Africa Cup, I think, to
yeah,
cut down costs. So you meet for extend a long weekend or something like that, and then play
yeah,
those matches, because
yeah,
for the teams to travel, it's not financially viable, and that
yeah,
so yeah. That's always going to be a big one, Moses, and I think it's a difficult one to resolve,
mhm,
but
mhm,
somehow we'll have to make it work.
yeah. Now, there's a discussion we've been having all along about coaches, and you said it in the beginning about coaches sharing information, being able to. Yes, we are competitors, but we also complement each other, and I'm very happy to say that you, Fire, Fabian Gregory, Alistair Fredericks, some of people who we are able to sit down and share a lot of information. There's also a guy in Ghana, I think Eddie, a good friend Eddie
Eddie.
also. Yeah, we do let's share a lot of information, and there's somebody who said something which really hit me. He said that we don't love each other as coaches. When I say that, it's like we don't um, we don't see the strengths of the others and know how they can compare. So what's your take about the coaches in Africa and how we can collaborate and share information? Within us, we are people who are lucky enough to I'm in a place where I'm getting a lot of information, a lot of the way of you doing things, and I'm free to share. But what do you think we are able to do? Because we really need to come out from our comfort zone and spread our wings and share as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like South Africa, you guys, you're a niche hire. So what's your thought about that? What's your thought lines about that? What we can do as coaches all over Africa just to work together? Because I think that could be the first change for us to grow.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think COVID-19 has shown us that webinars, Zoom calls,
Yes.
Microsoft Teams, this is the way to go to share
Yeah.
information. And I think
Yeah.
we need to start to have Africa Coaches Forum,
Yeah.
where all the international coaches from each country
Yeah.
that plays within Africa, we need to
Yeah.
start that forum and we need to start discussions. And I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe saying that shouldn't just end there. It should be any coach within Africa that wants to learn and grow. And we need to have
Mm-hmm.
more conversation with each other, where we can
Mm-hmm.
share our screens and show, look here, these are the tactics that we're trying to develop
Mm-hmm.
currently.
Mm-hmm.
And more collaboration is needed. Also, we need to have more courses in Africa from the FIH
Mm-hmm.
side. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know we have some qualified educators now, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important. That
Mm-hmm.
needs to happen a lot more. A lot more courses in Africa. I think that's the problem. I think in South Africa, for instance, we only have once a year we have a level 3 course, which is
Mm-hmm.
endorsed by SAR and FIH. But we
Mm-hmm.
need to have more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully through these webinars we can spread
Mm-hmm.
the word, right? And
Yeah.
I think that would probably be COVID has helped us a lot with that, because I can
Yeah.
say now I've attended quite a few webinars. In fact, you
Mm.
now need to pick and choose, because sometimes there's information overload that comes from
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
and the brilliant thing is that coaches are willing to share, especially
Mm-hmm.
the international coaches from the top teams. They're willing to share a lot of
Yeah.
information, and
Mm-hmm.
we've all learned over this period. But I think we can
Mm-hmm.
now drill that down into Africa. Africa hockey needs to
Mm-hmm.
have a similar program starting.
Mm-hmm. Now, Chess, if this black dude from Kenya would like to have Chess to come and just because I think that's the same thing I said about hikes. I'm sorry, and I'm just saying the way it is. We don't
Mm.
appreciate our athletes and our coaches well enough in our home countries, and
Yeah,
it's sad. But uh, you have so much experience, and I know Ghana needs that information. Kenya needs that information. Zimbabwe needs to tap into your wealth of knowledge, and what can we do? Maybe like what we are discussing. It will be fun, nice to have you in Kenya just to work with some groups.
yeah,
Maybe have you in Ghana and the rest of the place. What do you think we need to do far and above that? I mean, I know money is involved, but
yeah,
what's your take about that? Because I think that's the only way we're gonna step out by sharing, as you said
yeah.
before. Yeah. So what will it take to have?
Just an invite, eh? And hopefully, we can make things work. We can get some people
Yeah.
on board to assist, and I think that's all it is. It's just an invite.
Mm-hmm.
I've had plenty of discussion with you. I mean, as soon as you
Yeah.
start coach working in the sport to make money, I think you're already heading down the wrong path. I think if you do well
Yeah.
enough, the money will follow anyway.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is you need to have a passion, right? And a passion to share, passion to grow the sport. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a while there, we were worried about hockey in South Africa because the numbers
Mm-hmm.
were dwindling. And in fact,
Yeah.
there's a big fall off. I think South Africa has got one of the biggest youth hockey markets in the
Yeah.
world currently.
Yeah.
But our senior level hockey is dying, and we need to bridge that gap. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important that we keep people playing hockey for a lot longer. I know in Europe there's a little bit of beach hockey in the summer,
Yeah.
or they do a few things, and hockey for life. There's masters tournaments now, which is
Mm-hmm.
great, but we need to keep the players in the system for a lot longer. Those
Yeah.
players will eventually become coaches, administrators, and our game will grow. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the important thing. Hockey needs to grow within Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within South Africa, in Africa, and all other African countries, we need to grow that. And
Yeah.
more collaboration is needed. So I think number one thing is the federations or hockey associations. South African hockey and Kenyan hockey,
Mm-hmm.
Ghanaian hockey, Egyptian hockey, and
Yeah.
anybody else that plays hockey on the continent needs to get together, and we need to start these programs. I think we
Mm-hmm.
we need to grow ourselves from within before we want to go elsewhere. So we need to grow the coaching pool, the coaching talent within Africa. Because if you look around the world, and especially in South Africa, we have a lot of our top coaches coaching at other international teams.
Yes.
We export really well from and there's been lots of chatter and lots of other Facebook things where people are throwing a lot of accusations around, and I think we need to grow from within before we want to do anything else. So that's important. There needs to be a lot more collaboration, and I've been saying that word a lot, but I think Africa hockey we need to work a lot more together. All the teams on the continent needs to work together a lot more and share our knowledge, because I can give you all the information about the press. You still have to prep and play and get a game plan against that. And like I said, some coaches will have 3 or 4 different plans for you in the same match. So once you cover that one angle, something else will then open up. So it also makes us better as coaches, because we have to start thinking outside the box and not just come to a match and this is the game plan and we go with it. So everybody will then grow.
Great. So what are you expecting of Madibas? I know you've also been regrouping and rebuilding,
we definitely in a rebuilding phase. COVID-19 could have helped, if you want to put it that way, but it's also we're losing quite a few of our senior players who will most probably be finishing up if they can get their academic careers sorted during this year. But yes, being one of the small universities, it's always tough. We pride ourselves that our training sessions are really intense, and we push players outside of their comfort zones. Some players survive and others fall by the wayside, but I think it's important that players understand what pressures they're going to play under. And as a coach, I try and mimic that in our training sessions, and some of our training sessions are really intense. I'm sure some of the players will say there's nothing humble about the coach when he's shouting and screaming at us. And I always tell the players, Moses, the day I stop shouting and screaming at you, or trying to push you, you must know that I've given up on you as a hockey player. So we try and have intense training sessions. We also try and train a lot under fatigue, because we know we'll be chasing quite a bit of the hockey ball. So fitness is a huge component.
And now, just you are about to sum up, but I really like talking about this. We have common friends, and so what has been impact of Alistair Frederick's Fire? Okay, Fabian. When I say Fire, people don't know. Calling Mr. Adidas, Fabian Gregory. I think those are there are people who we share commonly that, and Siegfried Eichmann.
Yes.
A good gentleman. So, what has been their contribution to your coaching behavior and you as a coach?
In fact, I met Fabian and Alistair on the hockey field as players. I was always trying to beat Fabian, and he was always too fast, so I couldn't catch up to him. I was slow then. I'm still slow now. So it's better to coach. People can't run around you so easily. So Fabian, very skillful back then. Alistair was probably one of the best hockey players I've laid my eyes on. Silky smooth and could eliminate and had skills galore. One of the best players. But after they moved away from playing and they started coaching, and they've been a great influence. I think Alistair is now the high-performance executive for South African hockey. And I think it's a very good position for him to be in. And I think he can grow that portfolio greatly. But they've always been there as supporters for me, which is great. Also, Fabian Gregory, I had the pleasure to coach with Fabian at international level as one of his assistant coaches, trainers, or whatever you want to call us these days. And they've both taught me so much about hockey. Siegfried Eichmann, I call him my twin brother. If we take a photo, we look like we family and stuff like that. And he's always willing to have a conversation, always willing to share his knowledge. We drove in an Uber one day on our way to Fabian's place, I think before we had a gathering there, which was great. But he confused me so much with all the tactical knowledge that he has. I said, we actually need to
Yeah.
sit down and have a proper conversation, because
Yes.
it's and that's the thing. All of these guys got an immense amount of
Yeah.
knowledge that they are willing to
Yeah.
share. And I would encourage anybody to have a conversation with him. And in fact, any
Yeah.
coach, talk to each other. You
Yeah.
will understand, what the
Yeah.
other person is like and where they would like to go and what they want to achieve in their hockey careers
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
coaches. But uh, all of the above, really great gentlemen, and I appreciate everything that they've done for me in my hockey career.
Yeah. And I think that's what you're trying to get at. That when you yeah, Alistair has done so much for me, and yeah, when I had the sorry, I'll just have to say it here. When there was an article or I mean the article which was in the Facebook and criticizing, and I've seen this Alistair, Fabian have done so much for African hockey indirectly, because people like me, people like Meshak Senge, people like Eddie Frimpong from Ghana,
Yeah,
we really through our collaborations we've been able to change or improve our hockey, and I really felt bad when people look at it from a South African perspective, but it's all an African perspective, and it's, as you said before, we really need to work together as coaches and grow each other. Yeah, so I'm really before we go up, I really want to first and foremost appreciate you for the service, not only for South Africa hockey, but also I think you've also done a lot of good to Africa hockey, because all the coaches who talk to you, you're always willing to talk to them and exchange and also follow up on stuff. So I really think we have so much to do to make hockey better in Africa, and I like the conversations we are having. And as I said, when the COVID is done, definitely I have to come to PE. We need
definitely
to
you
do
have
some
to come.
stuff.
You definitely have to come.
Yeah, and as I said before, we had a discussion also with Alistair and so hikes and you. So we'll be bringing you to Kenya, because I think we need a different face, a different voice, a different perspective. It definitely makes the hockey better.
Yeah.
So, Chess, you've been so awesome for the years I've known you. Um, uh, Ali was complaining that, remember, we've been taking photos in India, and so he's complaining that, hey, one is really traveling a lot and one is really doing a job. But I think
Yeah.
it's all about learning and getting new ideas and new information.
Yeah.
And I think we should. I'll take the challenge. I'll work on opening up a forum for all the coaches from my knowledge, and just leave it open, so that at least we can also have a forum where we can exchange and also invite people to come over and just share that. I think that's a first big step when you work together. We believe in Ubuntu,
Very true.
if I achieve, everybody achieves, and I think it's nice. So, Chess, it's so nice to have you here, and I think we are going to keep on having this conversation, because I think we said when you start conversing about something, even if people don't accept it, already you're sowing a seed. So finally, what would you like to tell our viewers in Africa? And just like, the, yeah, just an encouragement, or what you feel that we need to do from a personal level.
I think African hockey is in a very good state, especially after the last Africa Cup. The level of
Yeah.
competition was really great, and I think back to where Kenya was leading against Egypt for a very long time, and
Yeah.
in fact missed a few goals there to go even further ahead in that match. And then I thought to myself, this is how close hockey has become. And I remember in Ismailia as well, something similar happened to us where Kenyan hockey, for
Yeah.
instance, was running the
Yeah.
game for a very long time. The ebb and flow in African hockey, playing wise,
Yeah.
is you can see the gap is closing. And I think
Yeah.
it can only get better if we
Yeah.
work harder together and with a lot of collaboration. I think it's important that we grow African hockey.
Yeah.
I think we have the responsibility as coaches and
Yes.
administrators from all the
Mm.
hockey associations to grow
Yeah.
African hockey and make
Yeah.
African hockey better, because I would like to see a lot more African teams participating at Commonwealth Games level, World Cup level, and as well as the
Yeah.
Olympics. I think that is the most important. And we've seen how football has grown, because for a long time African teams were the minnows in World Cups. Now people are worried about the African teams coming to World Cups,
Yes.
football World Cups, and I think similar things can happen with hockey in Africa. And I think we just all need to work together there, and that's the most important thing. Share our knowledge, share our ideas, and let's work together to grow Africa hockey.
Yeah. Yeah, Chess, it's so nice to have you. We can go on and on. You have Indian blood in you, and I have African, and we can talk for ages. But I'm really happy, and I like this conversation. So keep working hard, Chess. I know sooner or later we need you. We need you in Africa. We need that experience. We need that knowledge, and yeah, because I think we always say a prophet mostly is not appreciated back home. Yeah.
Very true.
And I think I know as we keep on having, people will start seeing value on whatever you do. So I'm really happy, and hopefully we'll see you soon. I hope to go back home soon, but there's so much to discuss, so much to converse. So it's an honor to have you here, and really appreciate you being a gentleman off the pitch. Now you've told me, but I think it's awesome, and let's keep on sharing. Let's keep on and growing each other. I think it's George Washington who said that I can see farther because I'm standing in the shoulders of giants. And I think the people, as you said, the people who have gone ahead of us, Alistair, Fabian, and the rest of people, we also have a responsibility to grow other people because they have invested in us. So I think we are speaking the same language. Yeah. Yeah.
Moses, so thank you. I just want to say thank you very much for having me on Hockey Farm Sports. It's been an awesome experience. And thank you very much for the opportunity. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. So we'll catch up later, okay?
We'll catch up
later.
So
everybody, today we had Chess, and I know we're going to have him again sooner or later. We really appreciate, and we'll take that opportunity of building our forum for the coaches. I think we need him. I know people will be willing to share in that opportunity. So for now, that's our show for today, and we'll see you again. Chess, see you. Have a nice evening, eh? Regards to a beautiful family there. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, viewers. Up to next Sunday. Thank you. Bye-bye.